stuff that we've already talked about. So hopefully this is not new information. But I also want to make sure that I go over it now with everybody kind of in the room or having access to this, because with conflicts, I never know if everybody's getting exactly the same information. So just to kind of keep you on track, here's what we've done so far. You've done treble clef note reading, bass clef note reading. This week, if those things aren't in, I'm going to mark them as missing. That doesn't mean you can't still do them, but I want you to not be surprised at midterm if all of a sudden all those things get marked missing at the last second. So I'm going to start marking those first two as missing if they're not turned in, just so you can see where you're at. You can still turn them in for full points. Okay? Then we did ledger lines and accidentals. That was 2 weeks ago. Last week, we did rhythm labeling, right? So that one, hopefully you've got done today. If you're on track, that should be being turned in today. And then this week, we're doing some solfege labeling, okay? So as long as we are on top of things today, you should have plenty of time to do this, probably with time to spare, and be done for the week, okay? So what we're going to do is kind of go over the rules of how you figure out where do is, practice doing some labeling. You'll get 3 examples to do today. And you're going to keep this in your folder, and you're not going to turn this one in. I'm going to say it one more time, because there's some people completely zoned out right now. Okay? You're going to get this. You are not going to turn it in once you get it done. You're going to put it in your folder, because we're going to use it for sight reading for our next 3 rehearsals, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay? So you'll get to kind of check your own work. So we're going to do it today. You're going to keep it in your folder. So real quick review of rules, right? Solfege. These are the syllables that we use when we're trying to sight sing, associating it with patterns in music, distance in music. All right. The first thing we need to know is how to find do, or how to find our starting pitch. Okay. You need to realize that in movable do, which is the system that we're using, movable do can be anywhere on the staff. Okay. There is another system of sight singing called fixed do, which makes C always do. Okay. There are benefits and disadvantages to both. I think in terms of ease of actually sight singing for you guys, movable do makes way more sense. A lot of people do movable do. There are some people out there who do fixed do. So like if you go on to college, you might get a professor who wants you to do fixed do. If that's the case, apologies. At least you'll know the solfege syllables have a starting point. It's just a little bit of a different system. Okay? So do can be anywhere on the staff in movable do. Okay? So we need to figure out how we find which one is which. So you need the key signature to do that. Key signature is at the beginning of the staff. It's going to have sharps, flats, or nothing at all. Okay? So if there's nothing in the key signature, we're in the key of C, meaning we're using a C major scale. So C is do. We haven't talked about key signatures a lot yet. That's a couple weeks down the road, so they're coming. If you are comfortable with key signatures, know that the fastest way to figure out what do is just to read the key signature. If you're in the key of E, E is do. If you're in the key of G, G is do. G flat is do. Okay, so if you read key signatures, do that. If not yet, this is a really quick way to do it. All right, so if there's nothing in the key signature, C is do. Luckily, we learned how to read notes in treble clef and bass clef already, so we'll be able to figure that out. If there are sharps in the key signature, remember sharps look like this? Okay, if there are sharps in the key signature, we need to know that the last sharp in the sequence is T. Okay? Last sharp is T. That's hopefully not the first time you've heard that. If we're using flat key signatures, the last flat is Fa. Okay? Again, hopefully this is all review. We just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple. Oops, sorry. All right. So I'm going to look at the beginning of the staff. So right after the clef is where the key signature is going to be. There's no key signature in here. So I'm in the key of C. Okay? Again, we learned how to read notes, so let's figure out what this one is. We know the bottom line in treble clef is what? This is E. So I'm going to work my way backwards in the alphabet because I'm below. Here's E, D, C. We know that note is C. C is do. So I'm starting on do. When you're labeling, you can either write the whole syllable or just the first letter is fine. Okay? So I'm starting on do. This visually is hard for some people. And that's why I wanted to start out with this one. Okay? Some people have a hard time remembering that there's also a note right there. That note below the staff that doesn't have a line going through it would be re, right? It's one step up. Every line in space is one of these. Okay? So this would be re if it was there, but it's not. It's a step up from that. So it skipped and went to mi. So visually, skips are a little bit harder. Make sure you're checking closely to see which solfege syllable you should really be on. Okay? Here's another skip. Mi, fa, so. Okay? So on and so forth. All right, we'll do another one together here in a second. So key of C, nothing in the key signature. C is do. All right, now we've got sharps. There's two sharps. If you read key signatures, that's something you'll want to know because you can figure out which key you're in based on that. Since we're doing it with our other rule, last sharp is T. Last sharp is T. Good. So that space right there that the box is on is T. So I need to figure out what I'm starting on. Here's T, La, Sol, Fa, Mi. All right. So we're starting on Mi. Let's do a couple of these together. I'll try to, it's hard for you guys to see over there, but here's the next one. Re, good. Next. Good. Notice that's outside of the staff. That's okay. Back to Mi. Good. We've got a skip there. And next. Good. Another skip.
So
I heard a couple question marks. One quick way when you've got something like this is a pretty good sized jump. I could go re, mi, fa, so and figure that out. I can also look back here and say, oh, that was fa. It's one step up. Okay. So, la, so. Oh, sorry. I made a mistake. Whoop. See? Okay. La, fa, mi, re, do. Okay. All right. And then one more. And I realized last class that I must have accidentally copied and pasted the wrong thing because it had ended up with another sharp one. Okay. So we're going to just pretend like this is right there. Okay. So flats, whatever the last flat in the sequence is, would be fa. Okay. So if that's fa, that middle line is fa, what would this one start on? So, good. Okay. So same thing. Every line, every space, we would just go through and label this way. Okay. Any questions on how to do that? Hopefully this is a review. Hopefully this is nothing new. You're going to get an example. The most important thing is to make sure that you get the starting pitch right. Because if that one's off by one or two, everything else will be off by one or two. Not always, but most of the time in these examples, and in our actual music when we're labeling, you're going to get all kinds of things. But in examples like this, if it ends on something weird, you probably made a mistake in there. Usually it's going to end on do, sometimes mi, sometimes so. But yeah, if it ends on something weird, you might want to go back and check and just make sure that you didn't make a mistake somewhere. Because if you get off by one, then it's really easy to get off for the rest of it. Okay? So I'm going to pass these out. You should have plenty of time. Just 3 examples. Remember, you're not turning this one in yet. You're going to keep it in your folder until the end of the week. Till the end of the week. So we're going to use them in our site thingy throughout the week, and then Friday when we're done with them, we'll pass it. You're going to fill it out now. You're going to label everything now. And then when we do chaos tomorrow, we're going to use it as an example. Yeah. Site thingy.
This probably could you have a pencil.
There might be something in the cup up there too. By the way, if you are in Beauty and the Beast, hopefully you got the reminder that said it was canceled for tonight. Now, hopefully that's okay. Being at home, we need to take care of that. But
Oh my god, I just broke the mirror.
okay. So schedule a lesson. And then when you do that, we'll go over the options and then get that started. Okay. So yeah, just get a lesson time. I think I've scheduled you for lesson time. Maybe check on your calendar or check on your email. Okay, perfect. Okay, so if you come in for that, we'll get it figured out. Sound good? Yeah. Who is doing composition instead of weekly work? Anybody here doing composition instead of weekly work? Ben, Riley, Caleb, Rogan, and
Yeah, you ready for pizza?
No, rehearsal is for the performance, the Disney performance. So we can get the information to go through the music with the.
I was like, wait.
Yeah, for okay.
Last.
Friendly reminder, folks, that you should not have phones out at this time, even if you're done. Anybody need help, have questions, clarification?